going to start off with the dictation, so everybody please stay really quiet so you can hear each word really clearly. Okay? Everybody ready? It's going to be just like last time. And they're going to be really simple words, but they're also tricky because they're out of context. Here we go. Everybody ready? Number 1, make sure your name, student number, upper right-hand corner, 右上角. Your name, English and Chinese, your student number. Put the date on here too, 日期, because we want to keep track of these. Okay? Number 1, watch while you listen. Number 1, pick. Pick. Look up when you're ready for the next item. Spelling first, IPA and brackets second, just like last time. If you don't know IPA, please be learning it. Please make sure that you're learning it now. Okay? 1 again, pick. 2, pan. Pan. That was pan. 3, peek. Peek. Ready? 3 was peek. 4, pin. Pin. If you're not ready, just keep looking down. If you're ready, put your head out. That way we can move along more smoothly. Number 4 was pin. 5, pain. Pain. Ready? 5 was pain. 6, ping. Ping. Okay? 6 was ping. 7, peg. Peg. Ready? 7 was peg. 8, pen. Pen. 8 was pen. 9, pig. Pig. Now, what usually happens at this point is some people go back and change earlier answers. Is that right? Happens every year. Number 9 was pig. 10, pang. Pang. Now, if you don't know the word, spell it as best you can, but the IPA will be the same whether you know the word or not, as long as you're hearing it correctly. Ready? Number 10 was pang. I'm going to read 1 through 10 again. Watch so you get information from my facial gestures as well as from sound. 1, pick. 2, pan. 3, peek. 4, pin. 5, pain. 6, ping. 7, peg. 8, pen. 9, pig. 10, hang. Pretty clear? Probably clearer than last time because I exploded the stops at the end. I'll explain that later. That means there's a bit of air afterwards. That should have helped you. On the other hand, these are words that I know that Taiwanese students have trouble with. So if you're having trouble, then it's to be expected because I've tested many, many people on these words, and almost every Taiwanese student I've taught has problems with these words. Okay, so last time we had the first 11 people, so number 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Put the answers on the board, please, in sequence. Okay? The rest of you exchange papers. All right, let's look over the answers quickly and see if they're all correct. Pick is very good. P-I-C-K, pick. Short I, pick. I exploded the K, pick. Instead of saying pick, pick would be harder to get. Pick is clearer. Second one, pan. So-called 蝴蝶A, we can call that digraph. That's what Ladafoga calls it. So that's correct. 3 is peak. P-E-E-K is also correct. Both are correct. This is 山顶. Peak is 偷看. Okay, long E. 4, pin, short I, and N is correct. 5, pain. This is correct. Remember, we're writing the KKE, which stood for A. We're going to put an I on there to make it really clear that it's actually a diphthong. So, KK 音标是单独的一个 E. 现在要写这个. I already told you that, right? Okay, but I forgot. Well, this will remind you, getting something wrong usually is a good way to impress it on your memory. It doesn't feel good, but you remember it. Pain is correct. 6 is ping, very good. Ping. We use a short I. In fact, this sound is neither E nor I. It's something in between, but we'll talk about that another day. We have a couple web pages on that. So this is correct. I plus engma here. And then we have 7, which is needs an, oh, here's the 7. Peg is spelling's correct. IPA is also correct. And don't do anything fancy with your IPA characters. A G looks like this. 不要开始用行书 because they have different meanings. For example, this is y and this is a different symbol. 这完全另外一个音. So you can't use cursive writing for IPA and still have it mean the same thing. So make sure the G 就是这个样子. Nothing fancy. All right, peg is correct. Number 8, pen is good. Number 9, pig. When you heard pig, I bet some of you changed number 1 from pig to pick. Is that right? Some of you thought number 1 was pig. Is that right? So I made it easier for you today. I thought maybe you were feeling bad after last time and you wanted to feel better today. So since you know there's a contrast, you know that the first time it was not pig, it had to be something else. So let that be a lesson as well. You don't always have that contrast to tell you. You may have context sometimes, but if in isolation, you may not have this contrast. I could have left out the pig. All right, that's correct. And number 10, this is a less common word. So that may be one reason lots of you didn't get it. But I think a bigger reason is a lot of you do not pronounce this word correctly. And I will give you another pair where there's a lot of problems in the plural. Okay, everybody say that. All right, is this an S or a Z sound? Thank you. All right, try it again. Good. Now, this is the next one. Say that one. Some of you have it right. Some former students especially have it right. Okay. Are these different sounds or the same sound? They should be different, but for some of you, I bet they're the same. In Taiwan, most people say bands for this. Is that right? Is that right? Okay. Actually, not only the nasal is different, the vowel is also different. From bands to bangs. It's the same problem we have with pick and pig. That also has a different vowel. And ing, pin and ping. 母音跟着改. We're not going to talk about it today. I'll just mention it. 其实那个母音有点变. There's a whole story behind it, but we're not going to talk about it today. Just be alert to it and make sure that you can tell the difference. Everybody, bands. Bands. All right, 刘海 bangs. Bangs. Ang 是肮脏的 ang, 然后呢母音是 a. Bangs. Try it again. Bangs. Bangs. Okay? So, this one was pang. Rhymes with bang. Okay? Pang. Pang means 一阵痛. Or she's having pangs of regret. 她那个后悔啊，一阵一阵的后悔这件事情，因为后悔感到很痛、很痛苦、很难过。Pangs. Pangs of childbirth. 真正的阵痛，生小孩也是 pangs. Pangs of regret. Pangs is just pain. 一阵一阵的痛. So, that's when I told you, even if you don't know the word, if you're hearing it correctly, you can guess the spelling, and in any case, you should get the IPA right. So if you didn't, it's something you need to work on. final nasals, and rather, are one of the biggest problems in Taiwan English. Okay, so you've got the score on the paper, percent, 5 points for each spelling, 5 points for each IPA spelling. Add it up. Any questions? Okay, after you've added it up, return the paper to the owner, look it over, and I welcome questions. Anybody want to ask any questions? If there's something, I'm going to read them all again, but first tell me if you have any questions. Something that you're not sure about. Can you all see clearly? If you can't, you need to ask somebody for help. Okay? Any questions? Anybody want to ask a question? I'm going to read all the items again now that you know the correct answer. Everybody ready? You will also want to watch again probably as you listen. 1, pick. Everybody ready? 1, pick. 2, pan. 3, peak. 4, pin. 5, pain. 6, ping. 7, peg. 8, pen. 9, pig. 10, pang. Okay, questions? Anything you still need repeated? No questions? Then please pass your papers towards the front and then Mendy will pick them up. Okay? Yeah.
Sometimes the N and NG sound is hard to for me.
Absolutely right. That's why I put them in the dictation. In Taiwan English, N and Ng are often not distinguished. They're mixed up. Or you have a habit of saying N for some words and Ng for other words, but they're different from what native speakers say. For example, pang. Most time when you say pan for this one, instead of bang, you'll say ban. So I can tell you very quickly, we're going to spend more time on it another time. But former students of mine may have heard this before. If you're not a former student, it may be for the first time. Okay, former students, please bear with me. We've just learned the different names of the parts of the vocal tract, right? We have alveolar ridge and we have soft palate, right? Soft palate has another name, which is velum, right? It's also called the velum. That's the difference between these two. N is an alveolar sound. The tip of your tongue is touching your alveolar ridge. Everybody say pain. Pain. Can you feel the tip of your tongue touching your alveolar ridge? Yes. Yes, then it's correct. For this one, the back of your tongue, remember the back, front, center, back, that technical term, is going to touch your soft palate. So, tip of your tongue touches your alveolar ridge to make n. The back of your tongue touches your soft palate or velum to make ng. And in Chinese, it's ang, zang, the ang. So if you're having trouble telling the difference, first say dian, there's n. And then for ng, for the angma, say ang, zang, ang. That's the back of your tongue touching your velum. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Right. What's happening in Taiwan Mandarin is in and ing are going together. En and eng 也在合并. However, an 跟 ang 还没有合并 except in 金门听说金门那边 an 跟 ang 不大分听说 Is anybody from 金门? Okay, Sophie 有没有这回事 an 跟 ang? Why don't you think about it and we can talk about it later, because I had a student from Jinmen who told me that an 跟 ang 占跟张不大分. You don't have this problem in your Mandarin. Where? Okay, yeah. 有没有这回事? Okay, so neither of you have it. I have a student who claimed it was true. So we're going to assume now that an 跟 ang 还没有合并，这还是分开的. So that's why we can use those as reference points to find en 跟 eng. Because if I tell you 声音的音到底是音有没有尾巴音还是音，一般台湾人现在搞不清楚，听不出来，因为开始合并了。Or 开灯灯还是灯？should be 灯 but many people say 开灯，还没开灯。So 这两个开始合并了 so I can't use either of those to try and help you find the difference between and but 安跟昂呢分得很清楚 because why? The vowel is different. The vowel is different. And we're going to find out why. 安跟昂其实母音是同一个母音，为什么听起来不一样？安跟烟一样都是那个注音符号的安，对不对？母音也不同，都有原因。You will learn all about it in phonetics. 安跟昂 the reason is 昂is a velar sound， 对不对？然很后面，对不对？所以呢，母音也拉到后面去了。是很后面的母音，是很前面的母音所以n 是很前面的鼻音，搭配一个很前面的母音，就是这样子。If you followed it, fine. If you didn't, we'll talk about it again another time. But your question is a very core question because in Taiwan Mandarin and in Taiwan English, n 跟 不容易分，安跟昂分得很清楚，其他的都 it's anybody's guess. Okay? So if you had trouble with the items with and and you found that you mixed some of them up, that means that's a place where you need to work. All of these dictations are valuable information to tell you where your particular problem areas are. And you need to work on them to fix them. Because in English, we cannot mix them up, except ing. Sometimes in casual pronunciation, we say n instead of ing. So the formal pronunciation is I'm going now. The casual one is I'm going now. Going. 从 ing 到 n. It's okay in casual English. And also in some words, I mentioned this in another class. You can go back to your notes or go back to the video when it's ready. Something is sometimes pronounced something. 甚至 some people say something. I have something. 那个怎么样用 KK 写 something. 其实是可以写的 Not with KK, with IPA, we need more symbols. The point is that 英文是 ing 这个词尾，有时候在很口语、很 casual 的场合的时候，你可以念作 in、going、doing、looking。可是呢 ，n 跟 n 在其他的场合是不能混在一起。In Taiwan Mandarin, it's okay. You bring it into Taiwan English, and then you have trouble distinguishing words that have totally different meanings. Okay, pan and pang, pin and ping, pick and pig. That's not a nasal. That's a stop. 可是也是个类似的问题。Okay, 那个是 voicing 的问题。All right, so if you're having trouble with that, you need to work on it, and we'll talk about it in the class. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, you have all of the tests? Very good. Okay, so that's it for that. We're going to the text. And we're on reader number 7, I believe. Is that right? Some parts, if I think it's too wordy, I will just say, please stop, and I'll explain it so we can move faster because we need to catch up in the text. Okay?
Oh. The air passages above the larynx are known as the vocal tract.
All right. There are 2 compounds in there. Which 2? So how should we say it? Right. And vocal tract, we'll treat it as a compound. Vocal is not a noun, but we treat it like a compound because we say vocal tract, yeah. Air passages, vocal tract. Why didn't you do it again?
Oh. The air passages above the larynx are known as the vocal tract. Figure 1.2 shows their location within the head, actually within Peter Ladefoged's head, in a photograph taken many years ago.
Okay, this makes me kind of sad because he used to say, actually within my head, because he's the author. But now he has passed away, so Keith Johnson has to put in references to Peter Ladefoged in the third person. Figure. Let's review figure. We talked about it. In British English, it's... No. Didn't we talk about it in class? Maybe different class. Okay. American is? Figure. British? No. No. Stop. It's figure. Figure. That's British English for figure. In American, we say figure. 美式比较完整，英式是比较 relaxed. Figure. Figure. But don't say figure for American. It sounds really weird. Okay. Okay. And let's look at the picture now on page 5. You can see the dotted line, and below that it says nasal tract, oral tract. You've already drawn that, so it should be familiar to you. Let's go on.
The shape of the vocal tract is a very important factor in the production of speech, and we will often refer to a diagram of the kind that has been superimposed on the photograph in figure 1.2.
Okay, so this is another tiny little detail. I say important. Just listen carefully. Important. Important. And you said important. 实际上 important, in my opinion, 是比较标准. But I hear younger people saying important now. 确实有这个发音. But I recommend you to go with important. Important. It's not a de there in theory. Yeah, important. Important. It's not wrong. This is all about the most common style of pronunciation, though. Okay? Go.
Learn to draw the vocal tract by tracing the diagram in this figure. Note that the air passages that make up the vocal tract may be divided into the oral tract within the mouth.
Oral tract.
Oral tract.
Right.
Within the mouth and pharynx, and the nasal tract within
And the nasal tract.
and the nasal tract within the nose.
All right. We have a big break before that and, right? Oral tract, 然后后面 within, 那是跟它在一起的一个 phrase, right? So we can pause less long there. May be divided into the oral tract within the mouth and pharynx, big pause, and the nasal tract within the nose. So long and short pauses, 看它跟前面的那个 phrase 的关系有多密切. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Yeah? So start timing your pauses. If there is a very close relationship, you need a little pause, but don't make it too long. And then if you move on to something very different, a new subject, a new idea, or a different part of the sentence, leave a longer pause. Okay? Go ahead.
When the flap at the back of the mouth is lowered, as it probably is for you now, if you are breathing with your mouth shut.
All right, so let's just think about that. It's too easy to just read words and correct pronunciation and not think about what we're reading. All right, so the flap at the back of the mouth, what do we call that? We didn't describe it in those terms, but you can figure out what it is. We were just talking about it now when you asked about nasals. What's that flap in the back of your mouth? It's called the velum or the soft palate. That's what he's talking about. The velum or soft palate. They mean the same thing, just two different terms for the same thing. So he's talking about the soft palate, but he hasn't taught you yet. You're ahead of him. So that's why he's calling it the flap at the back of your mouth. And it's probably shut now. No, sorry, not shut. It's open. It's lowered. 降下来了 means it's open. That means air is going from your lungs out where? Through what? If that flap in the back of your mouth, the soft palate, if it's lowered and you're just sitting there breathing, you're not talking, you're not eating, you're not saying anything like that, or duh. Wouldn't be what we wanted here. Duh would change it. So if you're just sitting there breathing, not eating or drinking, that flap is raised or lowered. If it's lowered, then it's open. If it's raised, it's closed. So the soft palate, think of the drawings that you made. If the soft palate is lowered and you're breathing, the air is going from your lungs out where? Through your nasal passages, if you want to say it that way, your nose. That's right. So 降下来了, that means air goes out through your nose. So if you're just sitting there, 发呆, doing nothing, then your velum is lowered and the air is going out over the velum through your nose and out. Everybody got it? All right. Velum is lowered, air is going through your nose, going out through your nose. Okay? So think about it as you're reading. That'll save us some time. Go ahead.
Air goes in and out through the nose. Speech sounds such as and are produced with the vocal folds vibrating and air going out through the nose. The upper limit of the nasal tract has been marked with a dotted line since the exact boundaries of the air passages within the nose depend on soft tissues of variable size.
That's right. 这是一个很模糊的地带 because remember I told you there's 海绵组织, remember that? We have spongy tissue there and it has an irregular shape, 所以不容易化. It depends on the individual. 就是很软的组织，那形状不太一定。Everybody understood? Let's keep going. That was very nice reading. Thank you. Next. 8. Microphone.
The parts of the vocal tract that can be used to form sounds, such
To
as
form sounds.
to form sound.
对，刚刚你重音没有放在 sound 上面，可是 sound 是一个实词，所以要放重音。To form sounds.
To form sounds, such as the tongue and the lips, are called articulators.
Everybody got that? Because a lot of people don't know how to say this. They say articulators or they say really funny things. So articulators. Listen to me say it a few times. Articulators. Just listen a few times. Just use your ears for now and keep the impression in your brain. Articulators. 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 All right, I'll say it again. Listen to the echo in your head. Students, former students, you know what I'm talking about. 听头脑里面的那个回音。Articulators. Go. Articulators. Good. Okay, go on.
Before we discuss them, let's summarize the speech production mechanism as a
Excuse me. Excuse me. Remember, like the first class? Okay, not Mac though, Mech. Everybody please mark this, put it in your notes, because we go through this every single semester, sometimes in the second semester. It is not mechanism. You didn't hear that. Mechanism. Got it? So let's do with that what we just did with articulators. I'm going to say it 3 times, then we'll use the echo. So, mechanism. No, don't say it, just listen. Mechanism. All right, now wait for the echo. Mechanism. Go. Mechanism. Go. Okay, that's the echo method. It's easier to keep it in your brain that way. So mechanism, first syllable, and don't say mechanism, it's mechanism. All right, that's the first problem. The second problem is we have a bunch of nouns together. Right? 一堆名词. Yeah, there you go. Stanley?
Speech production.
Perfect. Speech production. Everyone, speech production.
Speech production.
All right, speech production 是两个名词，关系最密切的两个名词。现在再加一个 mechanism， 后面反正没有重音 ，so speech production mechanism 后面两个名词都没有重音，因为 speech production 本来就已经固定了，已经处理好了，再加一个右边的一个名词，一样没有重音，它被修饰，然后又是复合词、复合名词。So listen, no echo this time. Speech production mechanism. Say it again.
Speech production mechanism.
Okay.
the speech production mechanism as a whole.
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 Okay, everybody, vowel. Before L, the O sound. It's not whole. It's whole. 欧洲的 O, O, O. Everybody, whole. Whole. 动跟整个有没有 W 对我来说都一样 So it's in the whole, the whole thing 都是欧洲的 O, whole. Okay, go on. All right, we're going to summarize the speech production mechanism as a whole. Go ahead.
Figure 1.3 shows the four main components.
Very good. Let's look at 1.3 before you continue. Turn the page and look at 1.3 just so you know what he's talking about when he's reading. All right? So flip back and forth. You can either listen or flip or whatever you want. Go ahead.
The airstream process.
又来了。一个一个来。When you find 就是有很多的名词叠起来，找到两个就是关系最近的两个先处理。The first one is air 跟 stream， 这是两个名词。So we say airstream, not airstream, right? Airstream. 这个好了。然后呢，后面还有一个名词，被修饰的名词没有重音。So we say 跟刚刚那个 speech production mechanism 是一模一样。Go ahead.
The airstream process.
Yes.
The phonation process. The oral nasal process. And the articulatory process.
Articulatory process.
Articulatory process.
Now, articulatory is an adjective. 照理说 process 应该这一个词里面 process 应该放重音 but how many times have we said the word process already? 3 times. In English, the first time you say a content word, it's stressed. The second time, you don't stress it anymore, 因为是旧的讯息。所以已经讲了3遍，你不会特别强调它，因为已经讲了很多次，很熟。So 还是一样是 the articulatory process. All right, trick question. What is process? What does it mean? We have 4 main components in the speech production mechanism in that figure. Airstream, phonation, oronasal, articulatory. But it's all process. Okay, process has a special meaning. And I don't know if this is exactly the meaning that they mean here. But here it means 凸出来的东西. That's the meaning of process in anatomy and physiology. And here they're talking about a collection of organs used for a special purpose. That's what they mean here. 是一个那个器官的组合，是用来做就为了某一个目的啊，做一个器官的组合。That's what they mean here. Okay, process actually means a 凸出来的东西 like the velum. We'll come to that later. So in any case, we can also think of it as 过程, but it's not really 过程 when you're looking at a picture. So 过程 is not the right translation here. It's 4 collections of organs, each for a certain purpose in speech production. So process here is not 过程. Let's find out what those 4 are. Go ahead.
The airstream process includes
重音.
The airstream process
Good.
includes all the ways of pushing air out and, as we will see later, of sucking
Later?
of sucking it in, that provides the power of for speech. For the moment, we have considered just the respiratory system.
Respiratory system. This is a 复合词.
Just the respiratory system. The lungs pushing out air as the prime mover in this process.
All right, stop there. There is process number 1. So for those of you who want to organize your notes and ideas, there are 4 components to speech production. The first one is the airstream process. And what is that all about? What does it concern? It concerns what? Yeah, air as a source of energy driving speech. Is that right? So everything that is involved in driving air as an energy source of speech, that's the airstream mechanism. Okay? Or airstream process, they're calling it here. So that's 1. Keep that separate now. This is air being pushed out to produce speech. There are other ways to produce speech with air. It doesn't always have to be pushed out, but we won't talk about that now. That'll come later. All right, here's number 2.
The phonation process is the name given to the actions of the vocal folds.
Of the vocal folds. All right, everybody watch these compounds. Some of them have an adjective as the first component. They're still compounds, or they're pronounced as compounds. All right, phonation is voicing. That's easy to remember. Phone is sound. Phonation is voicing. 有声,无声. Remember that you learned before. That's phonation. So airstream is pushing the air out to drive speech. Phonation is voicing. And continue.
Only 2 possibilities have been mentioned. Voiced sounds in which the vocal folds are
Right.
are vibrating, and voiceless sounds in which they are apart.
All right, now how do we produce voiced sounds? The vocal folds are vibrating. They're together, 并拢了, and they're vibrating. Air is pushing up through them, and they pop open and shut, and that makes them vibrate. That's a voice sound. That's how a voice sound is produced. How about voiceless sounds? How are they produced? What are the vocal folds doing? They're open, and we're just breathing air out. Okay? So that's phonation. There are more kinds of phonation. Those are not the only 2, but those are the only 2 we've talked about so far. We'll learn about the other ones in which chapter? Do you remember? 6. Remember? Airstream mechanisms and phonation. And I told you that one student, after we finished the chapter, didn't know what either one was. So pay attention now, and then you'll be well prepared for chapter 6 when you come back next semester. Okay, so phonation is voicing, and we only have 2 choices now. Either it's the vocal folds are vibrating, we have voicing, or they're wide open, and we have air coming out fast. That's voiceless. Okay?
The possibility of the airstream going out through the mouth, as in v or z, or the nose, as in n and n, is determined by the oronasal process.
Good. All right, the oronasal process. Oronasal process. Oronasal process. That is whether the what? 哪个器官? The soft palate or the velum is raised or lowered. The oronasal process is about whether a sound is oral, 口腔的, or nasal, 鼻腔的, 鼻音. And that is decided by whether the soft palate is lowered and open or raised and closed. So 封闭的那个就是一个口腔音，空气不会从鼻子出来。降下来的是开的，敞开的，那空气会从肺到鼻腔，从鼻子出来，那个是鼻音。Okay? So that's part 3 of the speech production mechanism. We were going on to part 4.
The movements of the tongue and lips interacting with the roof of the mouth and the pharynx are part of the articulatory process.
Good. Articulatory process. So the stuff that, mostly stuff that I remind you of in class. 双唇音, lips together for name. It's not name, it's name. Or it's t, it's alveolar. Tip of your tongue touches your alveolar ridge. Or it's ng, the back of your tongue touches the velum, etc. Those all belong to what process? The articulatory process. Okay, that's it. So look at the figure on page 6 again carefully, and look at the dotted lines where they're circling the areas of these different processes. Okay? Very good. Nice reading. Thank you. And next, say your name first. Okay. All right. Is this a compound? Yes. Everybody, how do we say it? Yeah, we're going to use this expression a lot. 这个片语，这个复合词, it's a compound. Everyone, sound waves.
Sound waves.
Good. Remember that this is a compound. Go.
So far,
far. Sing the little song. Far, far. I think I'm going to have to take time to tell you why we do that. Because at the end of every utterance, 每说完一段话, we'll have a bunch of stresses, but the final stress is the highest. For example, I'm going to the store to buy some bread. Bread is really high, right? I'm going to the store to buy some bread. The last stress in every utterance is especially high. We call it the, right, we talked about it, the tonic stress. And if we are done speaking, okay, 这是在重复, 可是 I think it's very new, so a lot of people don't really have it in your brain yet. It starts high and falls if it's the end of a sentence or the end of an idea or a semicolon. But if it is a comma and we're not finished yet, what do? We have a continuation rise. So remember, it's a shape like this, and we gave it a little name. In previous classes, we called it Sing the Little Song. Sing the Little Song. That means tonic stress, fall, up with a continuation rise. So whenever you're not done, you're mostly going to need this little song with this shape. So your paragraph is so far, okay?
So far,
Right.
we have been describing speech sounds by stating how they are
Describing
made.
what?
How they are made.
Describing what?
Describing speech sounds. Speech.
这个习惯哦，根深蒂固，很难改。Most of you were not aware at all of compound noun stress before this, right? 一点都没有听说有这回事。So it's going to take a lot of awareness, paying attention, and preparing before you read because you won't do it naturally. I do it mostly without thinking. Native speakers mostly do it just because we've got an echo telling us that's what's correct. But if we are recording a book, like an audio book, like my father used to do, and we're not sure of the meaning, we didn't read ahead, so we misinterpreted, we guessed the wrong meaning. So he might have thought it said, speech sounds really good if you have a good voice. Maybe he thought it was a verb. So my father might say, describing speech sounds really good. 不对啊. Speech sounds is actually a noun. It's not a verb. So my father would stop the tape recorder. He used to record books for the blind. 他以前是做那个有声书的录音，是给盲人的录音。So I've been listening to recorded books for, it was like 30 years when I was a kid. I heard it many, many years. And sometimes he guessed the wrong meaning. He'd have to stop and re-record with the correct intonation. Instead of speech sounds, it's speech sounds. So you must read ahead. And if you know which paragraph you're going to read, prepare ahead of time and mark the compound nouns because you'll probably get stopped up each time if you don't. So by describing speech sounds, not by. Go ahead, describing speech sounds.
Describing speech sounds by.
Speech, 要高一点. Speech sounds.
Speech sounds.
Can
By
you go a little higher? Speech sounds.
speech sounds.
Yeah.
By stating how they are made, but it is also possible.
Not also, it's also. Everybody, just 张开嘴巴, just open it. All. Perfect. Also. Don't say also. It's not also. It's also. Go ahead.
It's also possible to describe them in terms of what they can hear.
In terms of what?
What in terms of
In
what
what? Describe them
in terms
No. What's wrong?
terms.
Yeah.
In-
You caught it. All right. Let that be a reminder. If you see an M, read an M. 在词尾 at least. 词首有一些例外 like mnemonic. 词首有一些 M 不发音. But if you see an M at the end of the word, say it. And you probably have a habit of saying things like turns instead of terms. That's Taiwan English. You need to fix it. Okay, you should fix that. So terms, go ahead.
In terms of what they can hear.
Of what?
What we can hear.
There we go. Very good. All right, the bell has rung. We need a break. Okay. We were talking about an ang, and then a couple of you. I guess a lot of you have friends, maybe one friend, an ang 不分的,是不是? Do a lot of you have a friend? 就是一个an ang 不分的一个朋友,有没有? Maybe not a lot of you, but a couple of you do, and you came to tell me about it now. Can everybody read this correctly? Beautiful. You don't have this problem. Wow. 我们有一个家人啊, he always says 糖环坏掉了. 糖环 always. 而且只要是 n 跟 n 两个字放在一起, he will always do that. So I think it's an individual problem. 就是某一些个人有这个问题. And someone said it's 仔仔这个也他就是 an ang 不会分了. All right, that's back to that. Any questions before we continue? That's it. Let's keep going. We finished one sentence. What did we learn from that sentence? Let's review. First of all, sound waves is a compound. Don't say sound waves. Sound waves means 声音会招手. Hey, sound waves. 不对哦. Sound waves 是声波. All right. And so far, singing the little song. That's another thing we learned or we reviewed. We have been describing speech sounds. We're remembering to use compound noun stress where we need it by stating how they are made. And not we are made, they are made. Stating how they are made. Now I stressed how a lot because how they are made. Actually, 不只是 how, made 也要放重音. How they are made. We'll see in the next part. But it is also possible to describe them in terms. Everybody watch the M, not turns. Terms. Turns 是转几圈啊. In terms of what we can hear. How they are made and what we can hear 是有对比关系. That's why we have to stress it so much. So, by stating how they are made, but it is also possible to describe them in terms of what we can hear. What we can hear. So instead of just saying what our organs are doing to produce a sound, we're going to say what we hear, how we hear a sound, or 它被那个耳朵接收的时候是什么样子、什么性质的一个音。Let's go on.
The way in which we hear a sound depends on its acoustic structure.
Very good. All right, make sure we understand what we're saying. The way we hear a sound, 我们接受这个声音，我们把它听成什么，是看它声学上的结构。Now, we don't really know about 声学 yet unless you have studied it yourself in physics. So let's keep going.
We want to be able to describe the acoustic of speech for many reasons. Acoustics of speech for many reasons. For more
Blah, blah,
on
blah. 跳过去. That's a wonderful book by Keith Johnson. He's the guy who revised this book. That's a wonderful, wonderful book on acoustic phonetics. If you want to, it's a little too hard for us right now, but in the future, you should definitely read that book, go through that book. It's a really good one. Okay?
linguistics and
Linguists. Right. 就是语言学家.
and speech pathologists.
Almost. That's pretty good. Speech pathologist. This is another 复合词. This is another compound. Speech pathologists.
Speech pathologists
Good.
need to understand how certain sounds become confused with one another.
All right. So we're talking now about how we hear sounds. Up till now, we were talking about how we produce sounds, how we make sounds. Now we're talking about how our ear perceives sounds. And this is important because they're saying in one application of phonetics, which is speech pathology, 就是语言障碍科, we have to be able to analyze sounds to understand why some people mix up two sounds. Okay, maybe they mix up R and W, like Kelvin instead of Karen, like one of my classmates said in kindergarten. Kelvin, can you come play with me? Okay, Kelvin. So that's not 那个不只有 pathology. Most children actually have that problem. But if they get older and they still can't figure it out, they still can't fix it and they have other problems, they may need to see a speech pathologist or therapist. Okay, so we need to understand how we hear sounds in order to help people who have speech problems. Okay, go ahead.
We can give better descriptions of some sounds.
Some sounds, different vowels. Some sounds. Not some, some. Everybody watch, listen. Some. 那个加东西的和也叫 some, S-U-M. Some. Some sounds. 某一些音现在很强调 some, 因为就某一些是可以，其他的不行，可是其中一些是可以。If it were just not talking about any specific sounds, here, I'll give you some sounds. I'll give you some sounds. 我给你一些. It's different from 某一些，一些跟某一些不一样，对不对？ All right, 一些 no stress. 某一些 it's stressed. Got it? So, some sounds.
Some sounds, such as vowels, by describing their acoustic structures rather than structures,
Good.
rather than by describing
Rather, 你要注意母音后的 r， 你有很多 r 不见了。Okay, structures rather than.
structures rather
Yeah.
than by describing the articulatory movements involved.
Pretty good. Articulatory. Let's try it again. Articulatory. Beautiful. That's good. So we're just repeating now what we already said. Instead of describing what we do with our tongue and our teeth and our lips, we're going to talk about what happens when it hits our ear. Go.
A knowledge of
Na. In American, it's na. Knowledge.
a knowledge. A knowledge of acoustic phonetics is also helpful for
We say also? Right.
also helpful for understanding how computers synthesize speech and how speech
Synthesize speech. Once again, take it slow because there's a TH and an S and it's hard. Synthesize. Go ahead.
synthesize
Beautiful.
speech and how speech recognition works.
Speech recognition works. Try it again.
Speech recognition works.
Uh-huh.
Speech recognition works.
There works.
Works.
Watch the R's. 你很多 R 都不见了啊，要加强. And then skip that. They're just saying that this is discussed more fully in the book that we're going to use next semester, Vowels and Consonants, that I told you about in the first day of class. Okay?
Furthermore, often the only
Not often. All right. Kaiko O, a lot of people never learned it correctly. And it sounds like oa, right? But make it into one syllable. Oa is two syllables. Oa is one syllable. Oa. All right. And this is really common. So often should be often. OF is of. That's a different one. That's not the right one. Okay. So but often, not often, often. Okay. And the other thing I want to say is this a long or short vowel? 讨论过没有? Did we mention it? 还没有. Because I say a lot of the same things to all my classes because the problems are the same from class to class. So is this a long or a short vowel? Why do you think it's short? All right. Does it sound short? Law. Does that sound short to you? No. But that's not really the problem because how do we define short and long vowels? We're going to learn it later in the textbook, but I'll tell you now so you'll kind of keitopao. Lax and tense, well, actually that's just another word for long and short, basically. It's just giving us two new words, and they're a little confusing because short vowels are not necessarily lax and long ones are not always tense. So those are confusing. We can use those if we define them clearly. We define it phonologically, we don't define it phonetically because there's a huge difference between British English and American English vowels. If you follow British English, if you use that for your standard, long and short vowels make sense. The long vowels are really long, the short vowels are really short. But when they crossed the Atlantic and became American English, it was a big mess. I wouldn't call it a mess. I'm happy with it. It's fine. It serves me well. But they're different from British English. So long and short 跟长度在美国根本没有关系，一点关系都没有。You could 一滴滴关系 maybe 一滴滴 but 不多。Okay? So the way we define it is phonologically, the way we distinguish between the two. Let's just look at the word. Let's start with the word beat. This is really irrelevant, but I'll add it anyway. And oh, hat is another thing. We'll have to talk about that another time. Okay. So ignore these for now. We're just going to talk about these two, beat and bit. Beat is long or short? Long. Bit is long or short? Short. Good. All right. This is called a closed syllable because after the vowel we have a consonant, right? 那个叫闭音节，关闭的闭，闭音节。So, if we have a closed syllable, it's possible to have a long vowel. It's also possible to have a short vowel. Is that right? Beat is a good word. Bit is a good word. Is that right? If we make it an open syllable, I put bead there just for fun. There's no purpose except for beat, bead, bit, bid. Okay, we'll talk about those another time. In any case, these are all good words. If we make this into an open syllable, we take off that final consonant sound. Is be a good word? Is that a valid word in English? Be, 英文有这样的字吗？想一想 ，be 动词。Will you be here? Be, 当然啊 be is a good word, right? So, if we take off the consonant, we still have a possible word, and this happens to be a real word in English. Beat, be is okay. All right, bit is a good word, but if we take off the consonant, do we have a word bit? Is there such a word as bit in English? No, there is no real word bit. Is there a possible word bit? 可能是碰巧没有那么一个字，可是 is it a possible word? Bit. Go sit on the bit. Is it a possible word? It's impossible. English does not allow you to have a word like bit because short vowels cannot occur in open syllables. This is jumping ahead. There's going to be a chapter where we talk more about this. Actually, be pretty soon, I think. So that's the difference. That's how we define long and short. If it can occur in both open and closed syllables, then it is a long vowel. If it can only occur in a closed syllable, it is a short vowel. 它只能出现在闭音节里面，那就是短母音。Got it? This one can occur in both. Beat, B, they're both fine. So therefore, it's a long vowel. That's how we distinguish between long and short vowels. That's different from what you learned, right? All right. Now that's the background. Let's work up to the question. The question is this a long or a short vowel? Based on what you now know about how we distinguish long from short vowels, tell me if this is a long or short vowel according to this definition. It's long because Vivian? It can occur in an open syllable. For example, L-A-W, law. Perfectly good word. Law, raw, saw. Those are all good English words, right? Therefore, we know that ah is a long vowel. Why did you call it short? I'm not blaming you, by the way, but why did you call it short? Because your textbook said that, right? Therefore, your textbooks were wrong. I'm going on record. The textbooks are wrong. Now, this should probably rock your entire faith in what you learned before. Because if that's wrong, how many other things are wrong, is what you're asking, right? Because that one's pretty basic. It's a good question to always keep in mind. Always question everything. I am going to make lots of mistakes. I always do. I'm human. When you find them, if you happen to discover them, tell me, and then we'll talk about it and fix it. I mean, this class, I think, has improved over what it was at the beginning because students have said, 老师,那个好像有问题哦. I went home. You're right. I checked it. You're right. So that will happen. We all make mistakes. So don't take anything for granted. Even the things that you learned when you were very young. Those are the hardest things to change your ideas about. Things that you learned when you were really young, you think that's Tianjin DE. You think that has to be true. There's no way to change it. But let me tell you, when you get married, a lot of those Tianjin DE things are going to change. Because your partner has different Tianjin DE ideas from you. I'm telling you that right now. They will be different. And that should make you wonder about the whole idea of Tianjin DE. 真的有这样子的事情吗？真的有天经地义的事吗？ Always question everything. So this one is taught wrong in the textbooks. Ah is a long vowel. In British as in American. 不是一个英式美式的问题，英式也是个 long vowel. And it's pronounced long too. All right. So all of that started because we had trouble with a word. What word was it? Often. Okay, don't say often. You learned it because your teachers said that. O, like in home, is a long O, 双母音. And then you learned that this is a short O, right? Your teacher said this is O. 这是人家告诉我的. All right, but that's wrong. In British, it's O as in pork. In American, it's aw. Aw. 它根本就是个双母音. 三母音, maybe. Okay, how? All right, let's go back to often. Go.
Often, the only permanent data that we can get of a speech event is an audio recording, as it is often impossible. Often.
That's pretty good. Often. Good. Okay.
Impossible to obtain movies or X-rays.
Not X. X 是斧头. X. Yeah. Good.
X-rays.
Good. Very good.
Showing what the speaker is doing. Accordingly, if we want permanent data that we can study.
That 有个 T. 不是 that we can. It's that we can.
That we can
Good.
study. It will often have to come from analyzing
There we go.
an audio recording.
It's not audio. It's the same sound again as in often.
Audio.
Audio, yeah. All right, as I told you, in America, about half the people do not distinguish between ah and ah. I think I told you, right, in this class? I forget which I tell which class, you'll have to remind me. But ah and ah are very separate for me. I'm from Minnesota. But for about half the country, even a lot of people from Minnesota, ah 跟 ah 根本就不分了. So they will say often, or they will say he taught me English. He taught me English instead of he taught me English. Half the U.S. now does not distinguish between ah and ah. I happen to, so I will still keep bugging you about it. But other Americans will not bug you about it because they don't distinguish. But in any case, since I'm bugging you about it, watch out. Often is a word we use many times because we want to hedge. 想要妥协一下，不要讲得那么绝对。We say often. 常常是这个样子。不要说绝对是这个样子。We say it's often like this. We're going to use this word a lot, so make sure you got the pronunciation down. So often and audio. Everyone, audio. Audio. If you're from California, you might say audio. Audio. Audio, audio. Okay? All right. It's funny, I don't mind when I hear it. I notice it, but I don't. It doesn't irritate me or anything. Okay. So, we were talking about pronunciation. Let's go back and see what we have here. The only permanent data we can get of a speech event, 就是一次讲话的一个事情，一个事件 is audio recording. 所以我们必须要用录音机把它录下来。We could get X-ray movies, but we can't really do that anymore because it will kill the person. So mainly we have to use audio recordings. And so what kind of analysis can we do with an audio recording? 就是到这一段之前, we were talking about what the organs do, right? But now, since we're only using an audio recording, we can only analyze what we hear. So that's the point of this section is 我们现在要靠耳朵做分析，不是看哪一个器官碰到哪个器官，现在靠耳朵做语音分析。That's what this paragraph said. Okay, let's go on.
Okay, my name is Amanda. Speech sound like other sounds.
Don't go too fast. You missed an S there.
Okay.
Go, try again.
Speech sounds like other sounds can differ from one another in three ways. They can be same or different.
Same. Not same. Everybody, that's another tough word. First of all, don't put the M on it. Just say say. Say. Now, don't even think about the word same. Say the word say and then say Everybody, same. Same. That's correct. That's the way we say it. We don't say Sim or Sam unless we have a friend named Sam. Okay. All right. So, same or different in. Go ahead.
Pitch, loudness.
Not peach. Peach 是桃子. Pitch. Why do we have to be so careful about that? And this is a really good word for that example. Pitch and peach. Pitch 是音高. Peach 是桃子. 水蜜桃, any kind of 桃. But if you change the P to a B, we have a problem. Because if you want to say 海滩, you might say something else. And this happens really often. And then the person who is listening to you, how will they react? They're going to try to hold it in. And if they're trying to be respectful, they'll just keep it in. But you'll notice there's this funny reaction in their whole body. Because if we hear 粗话, all of us react emotionally. We can't help it. 对不对? Even 那个是很轻微的粗话. And if you're an animal doctor, it's not even 粗话. But most of us react to it. As soon as we hear a so-called bad word, we're going to react emotionally. It distracts us. And then instead of listening to what you're saying, we're giggling. So be very, very careful with long and short. And I told you that the third article in the series of articles that I wrote for 师德, the third one is about I and I. 第三篇就是有关 I 跟 I. So please read that one. Everybody read it. It will help you. Okay, that's an assignment. You've already read the 回音, right? 看过吗? Okay, read I 跟 I, that's 第三篇, because that will address this problem. There's another one, 一张一张的纸, a blank of paper, a what? A sheet of paper. Please be careful with that one. Okay, a sheet of paper. Go ahead.
Pitch, loudness, and quality.
Start the whole sentence over so I can hear if you got everything right. They can
be same or different in pitch.
The first one was good.
Pitch,
Loudness
loudness, and quality.
All right. I'm going to tell you one of the things in the article because we may need it now, and that is I. 国语有没有 I 这个音 I 国语有 E right 1 2 3的 E 衣服的 E 有没有 I OK 以前的学生知道吧 Yeah OK 国语有没有 I No OK former students 有没有人当过兵 What am I getting at Mandarin has I, but it's a marginal sound. 边缘的一个音. It has a special purpose. It's used in marching troops, when troops are marching. But it is exactly the sound we need for English. 它完全就是英文那个短的 I. So you have the sound. It's not hard to learn because you have it. And you can distinguish E and I easily if you're paying attention. All right, so this one's a short I, pitch. Everyone pitch. Loudness. Quality. It's not loudness, it's loudness. That was better. All right, we're going to explain these, but I will tell you quickly now. You need these three, first of all, for the test. I think these will be in the test. The three ways that sounds can differ from each other are, say them. What do they mean? Pitch means how high or how low the sound is. In terms of the vocal cords or the vocal folds, it means how fast they are vibrating. If they are vibrating very fast, what kind of a pitch do we get? High. If they're vibrating very slowly, we get a low pitch. Okay, that's one way that two sounds can differ from each other is pitch. 音高，中文是音高，音高的不同。The second one is loudness, and that's easy to understand. However, I will warn you that when we get to loudness in the second semester, that's the hardest part of the whole course. 整个语音学从9月到明年6月最难的就是 loudness. Because then we talk about decibels, which are in Chinese. Decibels are... Anybody know? What's decibel? 分贝。听过分贝吗？你的那个邻居如果开 party 的时候分贝数就很高啊。So decibels are a way we measure how loud a sound is compared to another sound. 那是整个语音学的课程最难的一个部分，最专业、最科技的部分。And we have to do a lot of math, not a lot, a little bit of math and other things when we get to that. But it's totally doable. I'm just telling you that that's the hardest part. You think loudness is the easiest thing to understand. 这三个里面 loudness 这个非常的直截了当的东西，声音的大小而已。But actually in physics, to study loudness, actually it takes quite a bit of explanation. And then 3 is quality. In Chinese we call that 音质. Yeah, the quality of the sound. And in terms of the sounds of language, it means what you're doing with your tongue. For example, the quality of a vowel is determined by how high or how low or how front or how back your tongue is. 舌头的位置就能决定一个母音跟另外一个母音的不同。舌头放哪里？ E, ah, E, ah. Those are different qualities of vowels. 所以音质等于是音的内容。That's 音质, that's quality. Or if it is a sound played on a piano compared to a sound played on a violin or on a saxophone, those are different qualities, you can say as well. Okay, so those are the 3 ways sounds can differ. Next, keep going. Same person.
Thus, two vowel sounds may have exactly the same pitch in the same pitch in the sense that they are said on the same said.
Everybody watch this one. Another commonly mispronounced word. We talked about it before. Says, said in standard American. Okay, everybody says. Said. Okay.
They are said on the same note on the musical scale. Scale.
Right.
And they may have the same loudness, yet still may differ in that one might be the vowel in bad and the other on the vowel in bud.
All right, they're saying that we could have 2 totally different vowels, but they may have the same pitch. So, bad, bud, the quality is different, but is the pitch different? No. And the loudness was the same, pretty much the same too. So loudness and pitch can be the same, but a totally different vowel, a different quality. And?
On the other hand, they might have the same vowel quality but differ.
Vowel quality is a compound? Vowel quality.
Vowel quality, but differ in that one was said.
Said.
On a higher pitch, or that one of them was.
Pitch, pause. 因为连接词之前要停顿。
higher pitch, or that one of them was spoken more loudly.
Okay, so we could have the same vowel quality, E, but we can make it louder, E, E. Different loudness, different levels of loudness. Or we could also have them on different pitches, E, E, E. All right, this part should be pretty clear, and like I said, it'll probably be in a test. Go on. Next.
I'm Carol.
Okay.
Sound consists of small variations in air pressure that occur very rapidly, one after another. These variations are caused by actions of the speaker's vocal organs that are, for the most part, superimposed on the outgoing flow of lung air.
Wow. Did anybody understand that? Nobody's really paying attention. You're just listening to the sounds, right? It's phonetics. We're just listening to the pronunciation. All right. This is a part where he's starting to explain physics. And I don't have my graphics here already. I could dig some up if we needed them. But remember when we saw those videos of the vocal folds opening and closing? All right. What is happening here? Sound it consists of waves. Now, what does waves mean? A wave is a series of variations in air pressure. 是气压一下大一下小，一下大一下小。That's what a sound wave is. Regular, in this case, regular variations in air pressure. So, what powers speech? Let's review. What powers speech? Air. All right, we're pushing air out from our lungs. And let's assume it's a voiced sound we're talking about. It's not a sound like s or those are not voiced. It's a sound like e or ah. Let's just use ah. The air is coming up from the lungs. We're pushing it out. And the two vocal folds are together, right? But they're flexible. They can open and close, right? So if the air pushes hard enough, the vocal folds are going to pop open. Is that right? But they also have muscles that pull them back. So the air is pushing them open, they pop open, then they pop back. The air pushes again, they pop open, and they snap shut again. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, 气压会使它开开来，可是它本身有弹性、有弹力，它会弹回去。OK， 气压又来了，它开了，然后呢，它又弹回来了。So you can see with air being let out in bubbles, 它等于是一个气泡被放出来。Is that right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Air is pushing up. It's coming out in little bubbles. So, 嘣嘣嘣嘣，那个空气是这样经过那个声带这样子被压出来。它不是一个很顺畅的一个气流，它是中间那个声带一开一合，一开一合，把它切成很多块。好像切成很多气泡一样。Is that clear or not? 听得懂吗? Okay, if you don't get it, you need to go back and read it, and then we will have a website ready another time to show you how it works. The air is pushing up. It's going through the vocal folds. They're opening, snapping shut, opening, snapping shut. When they're open, the air is pushing through fast. When they're shut, 气压会怎样？气压很大的时候，把那个声带把它那个蹦开了。可是气压，它那个弹回来的时候，声带又合起来了，气压会怎么样？又变小了，对不对？所以它蹦出来的时候，气压变大了；弹回来的时候，气压又变小了。1秒钟这会发生大概几次？平均200好了 ，right？ 1秒钟一开一合，一开一合，一开一合，发生200次。What we hear as ah, not very even, but ah, That's opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing 200 times every second. And it's an alternation of high pressure, low pressure, high pressure, low pressure, high pressure, low pressure, 200 times every second. That is what creates sound. 可以吗? These are very, very tiny pressures. And that's one reason I'm using a microphone now, 因为它那个能听得到的范围有限。其实那些气压是很小的。But it's enough for us to hear each other and communicate. So this is what he's going into now. He's talking about the physics of sound waves. 一个声波就是这样产生的。这个循环，气压大，气压小，气压大，气压小，这样。Okay? And on top of that, if we didn't do anything, it would just be like that. But on top of it, superimpose 就是套加在它的上面，有口腔里的很多动作，会使那个气流产生不同的声音，不同的声音，不同的那个音值。So, watch now for a minute. If I just leave my mouth open, it's ah. But if I make my mouth smaller and my tongue goes higher, it becomes e. 这边的动作是一样的。那个啊跟 e 不同，完全是在口腔这边发生的。所以呢，是气流、气压的那个大小一直在变换。可是套加在它的上面，口腔里有很多的动作，使它的音质变不一样。Clear? Good. That's great. If you got it, you're doing really well. You've like covered the first step of the physics of sound. Okay. Keep going.
Thus, in the case of voiced sounds, the vibrating vocal folds. The vibrating vocal folds chop up the stream of lung air,
Right.
so that pulses of a relatively high pressure alternate with moments of lower pressure.
Now you understood this sentence, right? Right? Everybody understand this sentence? Because I already said it before we read it. It's an alternation of higher pressure and lower pressure. Higher pressure, lower pressure. That's what this sentence just said. Air from the lungs, alternating. High pressure, low pressure, high pressure, low pressure. Very fast. And that creates a sound wave. Okay.
Variations in air pressure of
Variations?
variation
Not ver. Variations?
Variations in air pressure in the form of sound waves move through the air somewhat like the ripples on a pond.
Very good. What are ripples on a pond in Chinese? You have such a beautiful 词 for this. 涟漪. Isn't that a beautiful word? 涟漪. Doesn't that conjure up a beautiful image? When you hear 涟漪, don't you have a nice picture in your head? I do, anyway. That's how sound waves propagate, except one difference. On a pond, 它有几度空间，我们所看到的涟漪有几度空间。基本上很像是2度空间，对不对？一个圈圈一个圈圈。But for speech waves 是3度空间，好像是一个球一个球一个球的，不是一个圈圈一个圈圈，是一整个球。这样子 ，OK？ Go on.
When they reach the air of the
Okay, don't stress pronouns, 因为代名词是虚词。When they reach
the ear of a listener, they cause the eardrum to vibrate. A graph of a sound wave is very similar to a graph of the movements of the eardrum.
Very good. Eardrum 是什么？耳膜哈。All right, so this is kind of heavy, important stuff. The chopped up air that's coming out of our lungs going through the vocal folds, right? Chopped up air. 这个声波, what happens when it hits somebody's ear? Because we've got alternating high and low pressure, 高压低压高压低压一直在循环. It's doing that to the air, and the air is pushing on your eardrum, and what happens then? It's pushing the eardrum in and out, because in the air it's pushing in and out. It's got high pressure, low pressure, high pressure, low pressure. It gets to your eardrum and it keeps on doing that. Push, relax, push, relax, push, relax, very fast on your eardrum. So your eardrum is vibrating at the same rate as the speaker's vocal folds. The vocal folds are deciding how fast the vibrations are, pushing the air in front of the speaker, and then they hit somebody's ear and it's pushing the eardrum so that it vibrates at the same rate as the vocal folds, right? So we call that the speech chain. When I did phonetics long, long time ago in the 70s, I read a book called The Speech Chain. 现在可能没有那么流行了. But it's a good book that describes this whole process. It's called The Speech Chain. 好像一个铁链一样，从这边一环一环到听的人为止. All right? We finished the paragraph. So a graph of a sound wave is very similar to a graph of the movements of the eardrum. And if you turn the page, look on page 8. See at the top where it says father? Right? 都看到了吗? That is a speech wave. 这个就是声波，波形, a waveform. We call it a waveform, 波形. There's an instrument that can be used to turn speech sounds into this form. 它会反映出声音大小、音高跟音质都反映在那个上面. Now, what is the difference between the one at the top and that figure right under it? 第二个是放大的，所以看得很清楚，把它弄得很松。第一个很紧很小，放大的话就变下面那个图。And we'll hear more about it as we read the text. So, actually, all of you can do this really easily on your computers, and we will be doing it on our computers. We'll be making waveforms like this. Okay? It gets really exciting. It's a lot of fun. All right, let's continue.
The variations in air pressure that occur during Peter Ledfogut's pronunciation of the word father.
1.4.
1.4 shows the variations in air pressure that occur during Peter Ledfogut's pronunciation of the word father.
Except he was British, so we'd say father. Father, yeah. Okay? The vowel is very similar to American, though.
The ordinate, the vertical axis.
Vertical axis.
Vertical axis represents air pressure relative to the normal surrounding air pressure.
Surrounding air pressure.
Surrounding air pressure. And the abscissa. The horizontal axis represents time relative to an arbitrary starting point.
All right, we're doing science now. Okay, go back to page 8 and 那个直轴 is called what? It's called the ordinate. Memorize these words. They're just useful to you. It doesn't matter how much science you do or don't do. These are useful words. Ordinate 是直轴. 横轴 is abscissa. Okay, everybody? Ordinate. Ordinate. Not nate. Nut. Ordinate. Abscissa. Good. What does the ordinate axis represent? Not the ordinate axis. The vertical axis, also called the ordinate. It represents air pressure. Now, what do you think what kind of difference in perception does that cause? Air pressure 是影响我们一个音的哪一方面？我们学到音有3个可以有差异的地方 right? Though they can differ in pitch, in loudness, and quality. Is that right? So, this vertical axis, the ordinate, what is that going to reflect? The answer is loudness. Is exactly right. Because how much pressure makes a difference in how loud a sound is to our ears. Is that right? If you push hard, it's loud. And if you push really softly, it's very soft. So, the ordinate is air pressure. It represents air pressure, and that represents loudness of a sound. Okay. And then the horizontal axis, or the abscissa, represents time. So what is that going to represent of those 3 aspects of sound? You're right. Say it louder. Pitch. That's right, because we've already observed that pitch is determined by what? How many times the vocal folds vibrate per second. All right, vibrations per second we can also call what? CPS. That's another name we can give vibrations per second. C stands for cycles. So cycles per second is CPS, but we don't usually use CPS. We say hertz, right? And we spell it out like this, or we abbreviate capital H, small z, hertz. So now you can already start feeling very scientific by using the word hertz very comfortably. So how many hertz per, you don't have to say per second, just how many hertz. That means per second. So 200 hertz means 200 vibrations per second. Right, so the abscissa represents time, and that tells us in a period of time, say 1 second, how many vibrations have occurred. So we've got air pressure and loudness, time, and pitch, right? Okay, let's go on.
As you can see, this particular word took about 0.6 seconds to
How do we say this in English? Everybody needs to know how to read these things. 0.6 seconds. 0.6 seconds.
Took about 0.6 seconds to say. The lower part of the figure shows part of the first vowel in father. The major peaks in air pressure recur about every 0.01 seconds. That is every 1/100th of a second. This is because the vocal folds were vibrating approximately 100 times a second, producing a pulse of air every 100th of a second. This part of the diagram shows the air pressure corresponding to 4 vibrations of the vocal folds. The smaller variations in air pressure that occur within each period of 100th of a second are due to the way air vibrates when the vocal tract has the particular shape required for this vowel.
All right, for that sentence, you will need to wait until second semester to understand. That will all be explained second semester. It's too much for now. But the part about how many vibrations per second is easy to understand. The peaks, that means the tallest lines that you see in the second figure on page 8, 下面比较松的那个图，你看到最高的那个尖的地方，最高最低的地方， that means one pulse of the vocal folds， 就是声带一开一合的动作。可以从这个高点到下个高点，那就是一开一合的动作。中间有很多小的，对不对？ So we've got a big peak here, and then we've got a bunch of little peaks right after it. Is that right? 那个是需要学声学。You need to learn acoustics to understand why that happens. There will be an explanation if you can wait until next semester, or you can look it up on the internet. I've also got it in some of my web pages. But for now, we don't need that. We need how many pulses are there per second of the vocal folds. And those are the big, tall pitches. Okay? So from this peak to this peak to this peak, within 1 second, how many of those are there? In this case, in this example. This is Peter Ladefoged. He was a pretty big man with a beautiful, deep voice. So how many times were his vocal folds vibrating per second in this case? 100. 因为1秒钟会震动100下，它的那个长度是0.01 So 1/100th of a second. 所以1秒钟分成100块的话，就100个部分，其中一个就是一个 pulse. So 100 of them. Okay. So in 1 second there will be 100 of these. All right. So that's why it's 0.01. 1/100th of a second is 1 pulse, not 1 second. So 1/100th of a second we will have 1 pulse. 又过了1秒，又是一下这样子。Okay. Is that part clear? Good. Let's keep going.
I'm Alice.
Okay.
In the upper part of figure 1.4, which shows the waveform for the whole word father, the details
Father?
of father, the details of the variations in air pressure are not visible because the time scale is too compressed. All that can be seen are the near vertical lines corresponding to the individual pulses of the vocal folds.
All right, let's make sure we understand that. We already explained that in the top figure on page 8, 太密了，都挤在一起，太密了，看不出个别的那个直线，那个直线全部都粘在一起，变成糊糊的一片。Near vertical lines， 接近是直线。Is it really a vertical line? No, because time is going by. 然后呢，时间的流失当中，它就会往右移。So it's never going to be a straight, a perfectly vertical line. 接近 vertical， 可是还是有点往右斜这样。Okay?
The sound at the beginning of the word father has a low amplitude.
All right, amplitude in Chinese is? What is amplitude in Chinese? My former freshman English student has the answer. You want to say it louder? 振幅, not 政府, all right? 振幅. This is a very political time, so we don't want to bring that in. 震动的震, 幅度的幅, 它震动的幅度, and that is connected with loudness. And we're going to have to stop exactly there. So Alice, mark it, and then you'll start next time. Okay, so that's what we wanted to do. There's just one more thing that I wanted to do that I've done in previous classes in previous years. And students gave me good feedback about it, so I'll continue to do it, and that's book sharing. So books that I have been reading recently that I think might possibly be of interest to you, I will just tell you what the book is and pass it around so you can have a look at it. That's it. We will see you on Monday. And don't forget your notes. Write up your notes and hand them in on Monday.